y'all. So, we have to quickly pivot and move on to the next property, the Dudley Burrell property. And so, again, yeah, I'm sure a lot of the recommendations and comments about the Brooks site probably would apply, certainly some of the sentiments. But I'm going to let Christine sort of start us again and give us some history and where that's at so we can share our opinions.
All right, great. Just to remind folks, Dudley Burrell is a site that, again, we looked back at in, I think it was March of 2019. And there you go. So it's 3 parcels, and many of you know the site. It's right next to Ideal Sub Shop. It's there's 2 sites on Dudley Street and then 1 site on Burrell that connects to the 2 sites on Dudley Street. It's approximately 10,000 square feet. And we issued a request for proposal after a community meeting that we had, I believe it was in June, and we got back 5 responses. And some of you may recall we had an active community meeting where we had the developers come out and present. And unfortunately, we couldn't move forward on the parcels, and we just couldn't move forward because of some of the proposals just became financially infeasible. And after we issued the request for proposal, though we gave a preference for rental and home ownership, you'll see in a few minutes. After the discussion, it came more focused around should the community really be focused on home ownership? So we tabled that RFP. We did not move forward with any of the applications. We sent out notices to everybody to let them know that we were not going to move forward. We just felt like we needed to have more time to talk about it a little bit more. But Renee, if you want to do the next site, just to refresh folks, those are the 2 parcels on Dudley, and that's the one on Burrell Street. So if you just want to go one forward to that big narrative then, Renee, that would be great. So in the RFP, we put together, when I say together, again, I mean D&D, DS&I, and all of you put together guidelines and objectives that we wanted to see. And what I wanted to do was quickly go over them with you again, see if you're still interested, see if we want to do some tweaking, see what your thinking is. And I think, a lot of what folks have said today is resonating, and I love that you continue with your mission. The very first item was that the parcels must be held in a community land trust. So they wanted to make sure that no matter what was developed on the site, it became, whether it was home ownership or rental, commercial, it may remain to be affordable for 99 years under the ground lease. The community wanted to see a mixture of affordability, so 1/3 affordable, 1/3 for middle income, and then 1/3 for market rate housing. There was expressed desire for a mix of 1 to 3 bedroom units in the building. The massing and the housing. Now, keep in mind, we did not put any designs in the proposal. We gave guidance that we wanted to make sure that it fit with the community. And this goes back to something that Maribel had said, is that a lot of the proposals that we saw, I believe all of the proposals we saw, had a mixture of commercial with some housing above. So it kind of just blended in nicely with it. And then we wanted to make sure that the development must also reasonably limit noise, traffic impacts, and have adverse effects on the quality of the life of the immediate abutters. There were several abutters that attended the meeting as well, and then also wanted to see that there was parking to remain on site for the units that were there. We wanted to see parking on site. Excuse me. Some of the unacceptable uses that I heard from folks that you did not want to see. You did not want to see a liquor store, hair salons, check cashing, fast food, dollar stores, nail salons, marijuana dispensaries. They were all strongly discouraged from being put for a developer to propose any of those on site. So we did not see that when anyone responded. So basically what I want to do is just take a moment for you folks to discuss these. Do these look good? Do these not look good? I mean, my objective here is, do we want to just put this request for proposal back out, seeking a developer who could build either rental home ownership based on these guidelines with the parcel being under the ground lease. But if we're not ready, we're not ready, and I'm not ready to push anything. So I know we're here to discuss, that's how we talked about today, but this one is a little different vision than what is at the site at Dudley Brook and Howard Place. So with that said, Marcos, I think, if you want to lead us into discussion, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Christine. So I'm gonna again open it up for folks to either give a thumbs up, thumbs down, or comment on sort of these points that Christine just read that would sort of guide and hopefully facilitate issuing an RFP for that space. David, I see your hand up, so you'll start the conversation. Unmute yourself.
Christina, I could just hug you because we went through, it's so funny that what we're talking about is the same things that we went through in South Boston and Dorchester, especially around my business with nail salons and pizza places and check cashing places and all of those things. And when you open, like right now in Southie, we have like 5 nail salons, all these coffee places, they only split the dollar, and a lot of these businesses go out of business because they can't survive because they're all competing with each other. So I just wanted to say that. But secondly, the only thing that I wanted to bring up, which I didn't bring up before, and I'm sorry about it, is workforce housing. Is that a lot of people now, we need, since I'm in the hospitality business, a lot of the people can't even afford to work here. And so, I pay way more than minimum wage, but a lot of these are minimum wage jobs. And what's going to happen is that when you have people in the hospitality business that can't afford to do the work that we all want to have, like waiters, waitresses, and stuff like that, they just can't afford. I was just speaking to someone, one of my friends in Dunkin' Donuts. I went to get a coffee today, and he said that he was moving out to Brockton because he can't afford to live here. And my thing, that's my favorite barista, or whatever you want to call them. But when these people can't afford to live here and to work for us, and we rely on these people, that's going to be a problem. So I just wanted to bring up another idea of having some sort of workforce housing that people can afford to stay, so that they can help with the prosperity of our community infrastructure, or whatever it is that I'm talking about. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, David. And I see Miss Marjorie has put up her hand, so gonna give you the floor. Okay. Do we have somebody else while Maribel?
Sorry, excuse me, Marcos. I'll just point out there are a couple comments in the chat too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so let's see. Since this conversation, Claudia mentioned, she likes the proposal. It'd be nice to have a local coffee shop in there. There's nowhere to walk. Yep, that's very real. And then Steven's asking whether there's a way to learn more about the fate of each of the previous proposals. So probably, that's a follow-up maybe from Christine to Steven. Okay, let's get back to thank you, folks. Let's get back to the comments. Maribel, you were gonna go. Just unmute yourself.
I have a question. If this is going to the land trust, how long would it take, and maybe this is a question to DSNI, to find a developer? Because my concern is that across from where DSNI used to be, there is a lot that where the greenhouse is that DSNI had, and it's been about 3-4 years and nothing has been going on. And my concern is that our community has to move forward building anything. So is there going to be a deadline? And if there's a deadline to build something there, that deadline will be met. And if not, then it's going to move on to something else. Because I just keep driving and driving, and I hear about these projects, and decades is going on, and nothing is going on. So that's my question, I guess, for, in terms of that.
Maribel, if I could just jump in here and respond for you on that parcel, on this parcel, I should see, on Dudley Burrell, the 3 parcels I'm talking about tonight, the city would issue a request for proposal to a developer with them having the understanding that the parcel would go under the land trust. So the city would issue the request for proposal, would come back to the community, select the developer together, and then move forward. And then it would be sold to DNI and with the developer assigned to it. So
Okay,
it would not be a separate process.
thank you. So it's not gonna be waiting and waiting and waiting. Thank you. So I would love to have, I have friends come over, and I hate to tell you, I have to drive into Jamaica Plain or South Boston to even have breakfast. So David, if you want to open your own bakery here, please do so, because I hate to see it that I have people here coming over from far away and they say there's nothing here. We don't even have a pancake place. I mean, really.
I just need to be able to afford it.
Yes. Called D&D.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They should have money. Or we have to call House of Pancakes. I don't know. Or we may have to call House of Pancakes. I mean, really, I don't know what you do if you guys have connections. I mean, really, that's what I say.
And any other comments on sort of the proposal besides, Amanda's comment there? On the sort of what the criteria or the guidelines that Christine shared for that parcel. Are people yay, nay?
I do.
I think Amanda's asking if we could bring them up again so that she can see them clearly on the screen.
Does Renee have that?
Yes.
Okay.
Renee is the
Renee?
keeper.
And Upham's Corner has their hand up. Upham's Corner. Bring
Yeah, sorry,
Okay.
Georgia in the library. So I understand the reason why no check cashing places, but the check cashing place that is no longer here in Upham's Corner was one of the few places that we could send people to get faxes sent. People come into the library all the time kind of looking for services that used to be really easy to find, and now you just can't. So something where people can do kind of all of those support for small business, and the paperwork things might be something to throw back onto the possibilities.
Thank you, George. Anybody else sort of feel strongly one way or another? Or have some other ideas for, what could go there?
Is that the slide that people were asking for?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Great.
So, Christine, so I mean the challenge here is like, I mean that's one thing that's not like directly included here, like mixed use, right? I don't see it. Oh yeah, up there, right at the front, commercial and residential. Sorry, I was looking for it somewhere else. So anything else that you may need, or Christine? It sounds like folks, feel that, I mean, the guidelines and objectives sort of are still relevant. And certainly, again, maybe there'll be another opportunity to come back, but I don't hear folks sort of raising additional sort of thoughts. Amanda, you have your hand up, and I saw Georgia put a comment in the chat, so about UPS store. Amanda, go ahead.
Yeah, so I had a question about the 5th bullet on the development must also be reasonably noise and traffic impacts. I was just wondering if there's a possibility to add in a line regarding perhaps taking, I know this is, it's sort of out of our control when it comes to construction, but maybe if we can add in like, because I've noticed there's been like an uptick on like rodent activity in the neighborhood, but perhaps like putting down like mouse traps or kind of figuring out ways to keep like the rodents, you know, from basically infiltrating the neighborhood, because I'm starting to notice that's an issue, and I've raised it to 311 a couple of times to see if we can get like some rodent boxes out here. I mean, I've gone out and bought them myself, where they're like, you know, they go into the little box and they die. But that was something that perhaps we can also take in consideration as well. I know I've you know, expressed my concerns with street cleaning in the neighborhood. Like we don't have street cleaning signs on Dudley or even like the off streets or adjacent streets to Dudley Street. But with all the construction and debris, like if there's a way to kind of make sure that the streets are being cleaned as well and maintained throughout construction, will certainly help kind of alleviate some of that stress of construction. And I was just wondering if that's something that we can add to this.
I mean, they're all really good points. I do want to add that ISD has now added to their building requirements before they approve building permits and let a developer start construction, that they need to have a rodent plan in place.
Oh,
so,
perfect.
So that is now being taken care of by ISD before they even start construction.
Okay.
And the other question you raised about street cleaning, really interesting to me. I didn't realize you guys didn't have street cleaning, but I think we should keep that on the table for the overall discussion on how we move forward on Dudley Street and plus with Dudley Brook Ave. You know, I think that just needs to be part of the overall conversation. You know, whether there's construction or not, I think we need to figure out how do we get street cleaning. You know, that's crazy.
I know.
Yes. Great.
you.
Maria, you also have your hand up, so please,
Yes,
Maria Fernandez.
but yes, for my street, I've been called the city so many times, so we don't have no street cleaner sign. Every time I called, they say, okay, we work on it. That never happened. I'm so frustrated. I don't even bother to call anymore.
Yeah, I think we need to keep that on the table and continue to see how we can move that forward. I did want to just clarify. So I'm hearing that folks are good with the mixed use, mixed income here. This is a little different from the Dudley Brook. I'm not hearing that folks want to see open space on this site at all. Just want to make sure I'm clear.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. So for me, with having that clear guidance, if folks are okay, I could move forward with drafting an RFP. And typically what I do in RFP is a request for proposal where we go and seek a developer who would be interested in building the project. And what I typically do is, as long as I have the guidelines, I share the draft proposal with Minnie and Renee, and we could move forward with issuing that request for proposal. Once we issue the request for proposal, we would bring back eligible applicants that meet the criteria in the RFP, would bring them back to a community process and have them present their plans to you. And hopefully, we are all at a meeting where we could sit down and look at the proposals together. But this, once we brought it back to all of you, we would sit down and make our recommendations on what proposal we think we could move forward on. So I just want to see if folks are comfortable with that plan.
Christine, I have a question. What's the parking to unit ratio for that, for the mixed use, and how many units are going in that building?
So
do
we
it.
didn't come up with a plan. We're asking a developer to propose something. So we
Got
have
it.
not said it's a 20-unit, a 20-unit building, a 30-unit building. We're asking a developer to present something to us.
Okay.
You may recall, Amanda, last time, I know you were at the meeting, we saw somewhere between 10 units to 40 units. You know, so it was a big mixture of those units. So we're not specifying for a developer. We're asking them to look to see what they could fit on the site, make sure it matches with the building, make sure it's a mixture of income. And then they would come back and present to us, but we do not have a unit count.
Got it.
Great.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, folks. I know, Maria, you already spoke, so is your hand still up or coming up again?
No, I'm done.
Okay,
Thank you.
Please, if you've already spoken, you can put your hands down. Marjorie, you had your hand up, and then Georgia. Just unmute yourself. Okay. Maybe we'll go to Georgia next and then come back to Marjorie. Oh, there she is.
Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Oh,
Perfect.
and can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
My issue has always been for many years how developers and builders and construction people come through and they do criminal activity, financially criminal activity throughout the community. I mean, I had a very bad situation and it went federal. So businesses that that come through doing are noted for having bad financial business dealings. Please, I would like us to be aware and recognize that so it doesn't happen again through here. It's happened many times. They'll come through and promise things and knowing their intentions is never to follow through. And usually that's because people are poor. They do that, you know, with poor folks. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Marjorie. So let's go to Georgia.
So my question is for Christine. And can we, as a community, as an organization, say, you know, no more than blank amount of units, you know, in an RFP at the very beginning?
You could, I mean, technically you could, Georgia, but are you limiting what I mean, different people can design different things. You know, some folks may propose, I know we say we have a desire for a mixture of 1s and 3 bedrooms. Some folks may propose more 1 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms, so therefore they can get more units in there. And so it kind of limits a little bit. You know, someone could propose an elderly housing project there, a small elderly housing, and they're using studios so they could get more units than somebody doing a 1 and 3. So it kind of limits it a little bit. It makes it a little bit more difficult.
Okay. Yeah, I just, thank you for the information.
Thank you, Georgia.
Marcos,
So, yes.
Marcos, there was another question on the chat that I don't know if got answered, is from Stephen Ronan. Is there a way to learn more about the fate of each of the previous proposal? Yeah. So I know I had mentioned it earlier, but Chris, do you want to speak to that?
Sure. So unfortunately, the proposals just didn't move forward. They were, you know, there was some financial questions about the best way to move forward. The community had some questions regarding density on some of the proposals. Some had concerns about the commercial use. The voting in some ways didn't match with what the conversation was. So I think the fairest way to move forward was for us to kind of put the process on hold. And what we have done is we have sent out notices to all of those applicants that responded to let them know we're starting the process over. We will certainly let them know that they could apply for this going forward when we issue the request for proposal, but we just thought that we needed to start afresh on the process, in all honesty.
Thank you.
It had nothing to do anything personally or anything like that. It was just a matter of we needed some clarity on it. So everyone is welcome to present once again and submit applications all over again.
Great, thank you. So I think that we're ready to pretty much wrap up our meeting. I don't know, Renee or Minnie, if you have any additional comments before we thank folks for their time, for their passion, for their input, for sharing the experience? Jose, is that a clapping? Okay. Okay. Oh, you want to say a comment? Okay.
So I think we need to start thinking about how can we create a way to inspect these developers when they come and make all these nice promises. Parking lot for each car, but then there is no parking lot. They promise so many things, then there is no inspection from the city. Maybe we gotta create a committee out of the SNI just to follow the development, because there is no one that goes and inspect that. The city hasn't been doing it, so we got to do it for ourselves, for our community. Otherwise, they know they can get away with it.
That's right.
On Roby Street, the developer promised 6 parking space. There is not even one. So right now they're parking next to the house, on the street.
And you know this, is that all the plans that they showed us in the meetings that they went to, they're completely different than what they presented.
Completely different. Yeah.
They were supposed to be brick face, they were supposed to be all these other things, and we all approved it, we were all in, and then they built something completely different than what we approved. There's absolutely no accountability.
That's the
I can jump in and say for the city process, the ones that we do with working with DNI and they're under the land trust, there is actually a member from DNI, mostly Tony Hernandez. He attends the weekly construction meetings. So I don't know why you treat everybody else in the community differently than me, but you guys are at the table there. So, and I appreciate that because you keep us honest. So I love it.
But there is no inspection, no meetings for 65 East Cottage Street. There has been a single meeting that we were invited to attend.
Yeah.
So we have no idea what's going on there.
And to Jose's point is too, is that even on Roby Street, the developers aren't even accountable for hiring qualified helpers. They were getting people from Home Depot and just bringing them over here and building houses. And a lot of these houses are falling down now. They weren't using union workers. They weren't using required or licensed electricians or anything else like that. I know even the new houses, their whole kitchens are falling apart. You know, they're flooding. So we need to be, we need to hold them to these. They're developers, they're builders or whatever, but they're not being held accountable.
Thank you all. I'd like to give folks 10 minutes back. So unless there are any other comments, we're gonna, I think, wrap up. Renee, so